this is the process we're going to be talking about in order to laser etch zinc plate that can be then put into an acid bath to be etched. We're going to start by making sure that we cut the zinc plate and then write down the measurements on a sheet of paper in inches of what the actual size dimensions of the plate are. On the back of the plate, use a Sharpie to write your email name. This way, the people that will be etching the plate on the laser will know what file to etch to what plate. Then go ahead and spray paint your plate with glossy enamel spray paint and allow at least 24 hours to dry before sending it off to be etched on the laser. Once you're done with that, you can go into the lab and start the digital part of this project. You're going to grab or find an image. If you have a physical drawing or something physical that you want to scan in, you're going to use an image capture program that's available on the application folder in the Macintosh hard drive. You're going to go into the Macintosh hard drive, double click the application, and find image capture and double click that app. Go ahead and open up the drawer and find the Canon CanoScan scanner on the side of the drawer and put your sheet of paper inside of the scanner. Line it up with the bottom left hand corner of the scanner. Make sure that the desktop is the save location and make sure you select A4 so that it scans the entire scanner, and then click the scan button. What will happen is the entire document will then be scanned and you will see it show up on the desktop after the process is done. Here it is. We can now open it up in Photoshop. I will go ahead and quit the scanner. Now if you have something that you emailed to yourself, for instance, you can drag that image on the desktop and work with that too. Regardless of what image you start with, start by dragging it onto the Photoshop icon in the dock. That will force Photoshop to launch with that image opened as by default. I'm going to arrange my workspaces back to essential because that's kind of what we're going to be working with. So you should now have your image. Go ahead now and dial. You're going to be cropping this image to the exact size that you need it for your plate. So the first thing we're going to do is select the crop tool. Now you're not going to just select the crop tool. It's the first one. If I click and hold, you'll see we're going to actually type in the width, height, and resolution here before we crop. So we know the width will be, in this case, our width is 4 inches because we measured 4 inches, and then 9 inches high, and the resolution will be 250 pixels per inch. This is what we're working with right now. So if these numbers are correct, you're great. And you notice now you have something that you can resize, but you cannot change the ratio of. So get it to be exactly the way you want it to be. And once you're happy with what you've got, hit the return key twice, and now you will have an image that is 4 by 9 by 250 pixels per inch. The next thing you're going to need to do is turn this into a black and white image. Now you can select image, adjustment, and then black and white, and this will give you a bunch of sliders so that you can dial in exactly what is black and what is white. So for instance, I know the blue flowers here, maybe I want to make them darker, and maybe I want to make the gold actually lighter so that it's more contrasty. Black and white gives you the option of dialing in exactly how you want this to look. So if I want to darken up the skin a little bit, I can actually do that with the red and the yellow sliders. And the magenta, again, you can see that has no effect. Blue, there's some blue in the dress, so that helps there. Once you're happy with what you see, hit OK, and you can Command plus to zoom in, Command minus. At this point, I'm going to click back on the move tool, V for move, and you are ready to save this image to be etched. Remember, you're looking for somewhat high contrast. That's going to look better. If things are a little bit too washed out, or you want things to be a little brighter or darker, You can always go to Image, Adjustments, and go to Brightness, Contrast, or for instance, you can either brighten this up or decrease or increase the contrast using this slider. If you're happy with what you got, the last thing you're going to do is go to File, Save As, and we're going to save this with your email name. Mine is FAURC, and we're going to put this on the desktop. So, and we're going to make sure, this is important, that it is in JPEG format, and we're going to hit Save. Large, we'll just go to maximum and hit OK, and at this point we can close Photoshop up, and you'll see now you have an image on the desktop with your name, email name on it. That will correspond to what you put onto the plate, so make sure that that is there. Then you will put in the USB pen drive into the back of the computer or into the keyboard on the right hand side underneath, and you will drag this over to that folder and ensure that that is on the USB pen drive. A more advanced option is to take this JPEG and go ahead and turn it into the bitmap that's going to automatically happen at the laser, but this will give you some insight into what the image might look like once it has been bitmapped, turned into black and white, for instance. The way you do that is you go up to Image, Mode, and you switch it over to grayscale if it's not already there. And discard all the layers, and then finally Image, Mode, Bitmap. You have to have these settings correct, so you're going to use 250 pixels per inch, but we're going to use a halftone screen and hit OK, and then our frequency will be 53 and 45, and the shape will be round, or ellipse actually is better, and hit OK. And now when you zoom in, you can see how that image is going to be rastered by the laser cutter. Finally, you're going to go to File, Save As, and this time you're going to physically choose BMP instead of JPEG, and we're going to go ahead and hit Save and hit OK. And at this point you have bitmap file that won't be translated by the machine, and this is how it should etch. One thing we didn't talk about is if you have text or anything legible, remember these images will be flipped around, and so you have to invert the image in order for the text to be legible. So we're going to demonstrate how you do that. So I will import this image by dragging it onto Photoshop and opening it. And in this case, you see it is upside down, so I'm going to go to Image, Image Rotation, and I'm going to just flip it 180 degrees. And then in order to have this text legible, I'm going to go to Image, Image Rotation, and I'm going to flip across the horizontal. And what that will do is it will flip everything on that horizontal axis. At that point, you can use the crop tool, just like you did before, by adding in the exact dimensions of your plate and zooming in as needed. You could also rotate things. So for instance, like this. By hitting return, that selects that, and then going to Image, Adjustments, Black and White. And if you like what you see, something like that. And then of course Image, Adjustments, Brightness, Contrast if you need to brighten things up or increase the contrast. Finally, if you want to do the more advanced thing and not just export it at this point as a JPEG, you can go to Image Mode, Grayscale, just like we saw before, and Image Mode, Bitmap, dial in the 250 halftone screen and hit OK. The shape is going to give you different objects or different shapes, but we're going to hit OK, and now you can see Command+++. When we zoom in, we see that this is actually a black and white image that will be etched, and each of these little black dots will be burned away.